Hello and welcome to Outdoor Oklahoma. My name is Casey Harriet. I'm the R3 coordinator for National Wild Turkey Federation and the Department of Wildlife Conservation. And today I have Dallas Barber here, the Big Game Biologist, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about the deer forecast. We always have an episode leading up to deer season, and this is it.
Yeah, so finally fall has arrived and it's time to start thinking about deer hunting. We've already been through a couple weeks of archery season here. Muzzleloader has passed. We're getting into rifle season and things are looking on the up and up. Usually I'm sitting here with Todd Craighead, but we've changed things up a little bit this year. I'm with Casey Harriet, our R3 coordinator for the department, along in partnership with the National Wild Turkey Federation. Casey, you want to tell these people kind of what it is that you do or what R3 is?
Yeah, so R3 stands for Recruitment, Retention, and Reactivation. So I like to say in layman's terms, essentially I help to create programs and initiatives that get people outside and hunting. That includes providing educational content, workshops, classes, and just keeping the public informed. And what better way to be informed by Dallas Barber telling us a little bit about the outlook of deer season coming up. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so like I'd said, we've kind of gone through parts of our deer season here. We're getting ready for rifle season and things can't look any better. We finally have gotten some weather to cooperate with us. Temperatures are looking great. So I'm really hoping that people will kind of take advantage of that and head out into the field.
Okay, so can you tell us what kind of food sources are on the ground this time of year?
Yeah, so this time of year, most of our natural food sources are kind of starting to dry up. So those natural forbs that are available, throughout early October and into the very end of October, they're really starting to dry up. The acorn crop this year across most of the state was pretty prolific. Yeah. So that's still definitely a viable food source for most of our deer across the state where oak trees do exist. One other kind of curveball that's happening right now is with all the drought, a lot of these farm crops are pretty late in regards to being planted, put in the ground, growing, and being an available food source for our deer. So depending on kind of where you're at, what your rainfall has looked like here, and some of the practices that those farmers are utilizing, that can become a very, very good food source for deer here throughout, most of rifle and into kind of the late season archery game.
Okay, everybody's going to ask about chronic wasting disease or CWD.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so as far as chronic wasting disease goes, everything is going to be pretty much just like it was last year, where we've got, a couple of established SSAs across the state. When I say that, I mean a selected surveillance area. Okay. These are boundaries that we've set to kind of limit the spread of infectious material with that disease. So those can be found in Cimarron County, Texas County, and Woodward County. You'll see a slight change here to the Cimarron County SSA due to an additional positive that was found. So we've picked up one additional positive since kind of all of the initial establishments of those SSAs. Within those surveillance areas, you'll be able to find voluntary drop-off freezers. So that's where any of our constituents that have harvested a deer can have that deer tested for chronic wasting disease. It's a pretty simple process. Just take your deer there, follow the instructions that are on those freezers, and we'll get results back to you as soon as we get them from the lab.
Okay, one of the things that our public is very interested in is our public lands and where they can go hunt. So Dallas, can you tell us a little bit about our public lands here in Oklahoma?
So we've got ample opportunity as far as public hunting options go. The department manages a little over 1.3 million acres across the state that's available for our hunters to access. The one kind of caveat to that is with rifle season coming up, not all of our WMAs are open to gun season. So that's something to be very mindful of. The first kind of step that I always tell people to take is head to our website, know where you live, or kind of set yourself, I only want to drive an hour, I only want to drive this far, and go to our interactive map. From there, you can kind of pick and choose what places look good to you or what places you think are kind of within those parameters, and then go to those individual WMA regulations and see if that WMA is open to gun season or not.
Okay. I know in addition to that, there is the ArcGIS Field Maps, and that's a really good handy tool to have on your phone to download, and it will show you in real time at the location of the WMA, or you can zoom in and see where around you, where WMAs are around you, and it has really cool markups. You can get driving directions right to the WMA, and so that's a really handy tool to have in your pocket as well, especially when you're there hunting in the WMA. Okay, I know that there's a different licensing setup this year. Can you you explain a little bit about that?
So there have been some changes in licensing. In years past, you had to buy a license, a method license for each deer that you wish to harvest. We've kind of gotten rid of all of that and made it as simple as we possibly can, where all you have to purchase is an annual hunting license, and then you have to purchase a method license, so a deer archery license or a deer muzzleloader license, so on and so forth. And that whole bag limit is included in that cost. A couple other changes, we've made it as easy as ever for youth hunting with that youth super license. So it's a one fixed price, and they can hunt basically anything that they want in the state of Oklahoma. There have been some changes in non-residents as well. Prices have gone up for them, and also to include having to purchase a non-resident hunting license as well. So just a couple changes here and there, but for the most part, it's made it a heck of a lot easier to deer hunt in our state.
Yeah, it sounds way more simple now.
Yeah.
Well, Dallas, we sure appreciate having you here today. Is there anything you'd like to say before we...
Yeah, I just always want to wish everybody a good luck, during this upcoming rifle season. Our hunters have really kind of taken it to heart with the Hunters in the Know Let Young Bucks Grow and Hunters in the Know Take a Doe campaign that we've been pushing here for the last couple years. Antlerless harvest is still as important as ever. They've done a really good job over the last 3 or 4 years at kind of meeting those recommendations that we have, as far as 40 to 45% of our total harvest being made up of antlerless deer. So keep up the good work, and good luck this next rifle season.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And we just want to remind you that we do these Learn to Hunt virtual classes every year. We have a variety of topics, including rifle, muzzleloader. We even cover turkey. So please check our outdoor calendar for all of our events. And happy hunting, guys. Thank you.
Welcome to the ODWC Test Kitchen. My name's Smokey Solis, and today we're making chili Colorado. Chili Colorado is a Mexican dish. Colorado actually translates to colored red in Spanish. So what we have here in this pot is some venison roast, and with it is beef stock and Mexican oregano, garlic, bay leaves, sage, salt, pepper, and onion powder, and cumin. And that's been cooking for about an hour or so. I did get this started early because it is a long process. To start, remove the seeds and stems from the chili peppers and add them to the boiling beef stock. Let them simmer until the peppers are soft. Cut 2 pounds of venison roast into half-inch cubes. In a heavy pot, add a splash of vegetable oil and brown the venison on medium-high heat. Next, add all the spices to the meat and blend everything together. We're just gonna stir this around, make sure we incorporate everything together. Then add beef broth and let it simmer for an hour. Meanwhile, blend the peppers into a smooth puree and set aside until the pot of meat is done simmering. We have guajillo, ancho, and pasilla chilies. Once the meat, spices, and broth have simmered for an hour, pour the chili puree into the pot and let simmer for another 45 minutes. Shorter or longer depending on how thick you would like the sauce. All right, this is finished up cooking. It's cooked for an extra 45 minutes. As you can see, this has reduced down. There's not as much liquid in the pot, and the sauce thickened. And as you can tell, this is just so tender. Now, there's a few things that you can add with it if you'd like. You got some white onions, cilantro, radish, squeeze some lime on it. As a side, maybe you have some Mexican rice or some black beans or whatever you'd like to eat with your Mexican food. Honestly, I'm just a tortilla man, so I'm gonna give this a try. It's probably scorching hot. That is amazing. After hours and hours of cooking, all those flavors just concentrated and just became a flavor bomb basically. That is great. If you want to give this a try for your next wild game recipe, I highly, highly recommend it. And who knows, it might become your next favorite.
When I get out in the woods, it's like everything fades away, and there is calm and peacefulness, and it just gives me a break from all of the hustle and bustle that I have to deal with in town. I didn't grow up hunting. My husband introduced me back in 2012, and I went for the first time, I went black powder hunting, and ever since then I've been absolutely obsessed with hunting. It doesn't matter what comes out of the woods, whether it's a great big buck, a little fawn, or a doe, or yeah, sometimes even a squirrel can get me. My heart starts pounding, and it's so cool to be that close with a wild animal, and I have a lot of respect for that. We're guests in their home, and it's really spectacular getting to be a part of that, and I just wish everybody could have that experience. On those early morning hunts, going into the woods, I won't lie, sometimes I'm a little nervous when I'm walking in by myself. Climbing up into my stand, getting all set up in the quiet of the early morning before the sun even comes up is peaceful. And then, people say it all the time, but I'm just gonna say it. I mean, you get to watch the woods wake up. You get to hear the woods wake up. You know, as soon as you start hearing birds chirping, that's kind of when the excitement starts building. We don't always have successful hunts, but I can promise you that I always take something away when I leave the woods. Whether it's a lesson of something that I did wrong, or a memory that I have with my husband or my family or my friends forever.
So we are looking at hunting a new area in the state of Oklahoma. It is going to be a public land area. I've never been there before. So step one is to e-scout. Today I've got pulled up Onyx maps. That's a very good tool. And so we're going to look right here. I've got a layer put on there so it shows all of our wildlife management area, all of our public lands. Okay, so right here we can see we're still in the blue. This shows our boundaries of our wildlife management area. The white lines coming through here is our roads. So automatically we know, looking at this satellite imagery, that back in here may be some limited access. So if we're thinking deer hunting, turkey hunting, you know, you want to get away from the roads, this is something that I would look at immediately. You know, it's a little more limited access, a little harder to get to. We obviously have some open country. We can see that from the satellite imagery. And if you look in, you can see these lines. Those are topo lines. Of course, we can just pull up the topo. Is usually where I like to start. So we're scouting for deer. We've never been there. We're wanting to save as much boot leather as we can. So I want to look, and right here we have a ridge, and we can see that by, it gives us our elevation. And it's got this circle right here, which is showing us the top of the ridge. So we have the top of the ridge and the top of the ridge. Obviously we have some ponds, and we can see these divots and these topo lines right here, which is obviously going to be a drainage coming up. So from past experiences and places that I've hunted, deer like to travel the drainage. They also like to travel down the top of the ridge. So here we have two connecting, a top of a ridge and a drainage. So that's something I definitely want to go look at. So now I'm going to click over to the hybrid part, which basically puts my satellite imagery, or like your Google Earth, over your topo lines. So now I can look, right here was my drainage coming up, but I look and I have a gas well sitting here. So I'm going to have to look a little higher. Well, here's the top of my ridge and here's the top of the ridge. So I come right down and now I have all this opening and I have this drainage coming up. So right down the edge of these clearings, I would expect to find a good scrape line. Of course, that's all dependent on the time of the year. Obviously, if you go out in August and September, you're not going to find scrapes down through there. But you may see old scrapes. If you wait till November, there should be lots of scrapes just all in the, probably all down these edges down through here. But we're actually going to go out to this area and look at it here momentarily and see if this holds true. If you're going to go hunt a new area, you want to be successful. Obviously, if you're going to that area, whether you're going to hunt it, whether you're going to fish it, hike it, whatever, you want to be successful in what you see and the experience. But if you don't want to spend a few dollars on this, there's lots of free tools out there. You can go to wildlifedepartment.com. We have a good mapping system. Shows you the boundaries. It does show you some satellite imagery. Google Earth's been used for years. That is probably the number one, and you can get it on your phone, you can get it on a laptop, you can get it on your desktop, whatever you got, it's handy. Pull it up, it's free, check it out. Or just a good old paper map. You can get good topo maps. You can go down to some of your local ag businesses in your local town, and a lot of times they have a big map of the area. So you can go down, take you a picture of it, and scout it that way. But these are just some more to save you some time in the field. These are some good points to look at and to try before making the drive to that new area. Get on there, do your homework, and just going to make your overall time spent on the area that much better. Okay, well, we made it on the ridge we had talked about, that we'd looked all on our maps about. We walked down a good deer trail coming up in this clearing. We knew the top of this ridge was going to be cleared looking at our satellite imagery. You know, the timber's a little different. That's a disadvantage to the e-scouting, is sometimes you don't get the effects of how thick things are, the type of trees. So that's boots on the ground's always best, but we have saved a lot of steps. So we just got to the ridge and just come up on a good trail, and there's a big old scrape right here as soon as we got to these openings. So a good sign already, saved a lot of steps. First good scrape. Actually, looking now that we got up here, there's another smaller scrape over here. Bucks do this, and we were hoping to find this coming down this edge. You know, bucks like to scrape coming down edges like this, and then they'll hit this licking branch right above it, and they're putting scent on this branch. A lot of times they will pee in this, but this is something they can come by and scent check. Does will come in here and they'll pee in these also, and this is something that a buck will come downwind and check and just see what deer's in the country, basically. Okay. Well, here we are a couple minutes into our little hike, boots on the ground like we were talking about. And I can show you real quick, on our Onyx map, we were showing the circle of the ridge top. That is literally it right there, 50 yards. And this is our opening coming down the top. And back out to our right over here to our north is that little drainage that come up. So we're actually in that saddle on top of the ridge where the drainage met. And sure enough, just like we thought, there is a good game trail that's cutting through the saddle. And right here, as we got to the end of this opening, I can see 4 scrapes just right here. There's 3 over here, 1 right here. So at this point, I've got a trail running the length of the ridge. I have a trail that's coming up through the saddle, going down that drainage. And we already looked at 2 scrapes, and there's 4 scrapes right here. So now, as a hunter, I would be looking for the right tree to put my stand in. You know, knowing what this looks like now, I can go back to camp, or I can go back to the truck wherever I got some cell phone service, and I can look at other areas that are similar. Being this is public land, I don't want to put all my eggs into the one basket. You know, if you got 3 days to hunt, you come out here, you hang your stand thinking this is going to be a great spot, and you jump up in the tree, and there's somebody sitting 100 yards from you. You probably don't want to sit there all weekend long. So it'd be a good idea to have 2 or 3 different areas that you like. You can walk in the mornings or in the afternoons, hang your stand, and get a good hunt in. And you may have it to yourself. If you do, great. Spend every chance you can in the tree, because there's definitely a good deer in here. But like I said, you definitely want to have more than one option. Whether you pick a WMA in Oklahoma that's 20, 30, 40,000 acres, you go on farther south, you get into hundreds of thousands of acres. Or if you're going to a different state and you're looking at national forest lands that's millions of acres, it's intimidating to look at. You look at it on a map and it's just this big blob of, I can hunt all this, oh my gosh, what do I do? So what do you like to hunt? Do you like to, if you've hunted at home, do you like to hunt bottomlands? Do you like to hunt ridges? Do you like to hunt thickets? So you can pinpoint that. And if you're a brand new hunter, you can go as far as what kind of physical shape are you in? I mean, can you climb to the top of the mountains? Would you prefer to stay in the bottoms? Do you like flats? So that's all things you can target. And to find those, if you like hunting flat ground, find those little divots out there, those little drainages, those something a little different that you can start your scouting experience with. We left our ridge, we dropped down in the drainage that I showed you on Onyx that kind of come up to it. A little bit different change here. We got some water oaks, some red oaks, kind of in the lower part of that drainage, but we did get on a rub line. And for those of you who don't necessarily know what a rub is and why it's important, early season, like in September, typically that's when the deer start losing their velvet off their antlers. So the bucks will come and rub their velvet off their antlers here. You'll start seeing little old saplings and stuff with rubs on them. Now, as you get into closer to the rut, when the bucks are chasing the does, they get a little more aggressive. And this is actually a small boat arc that he rubbed in. It's sitting right here. I can see at least 2 or 3 more rubs down through here. So we do have a rub line. A rub line is a great place to hang a stand also. And typically a rub line turns, kind of corresponds right into your scrape lines and all your game trails also. So this is just another good sign that makes you feel like there may be a decent buck in here, and definitely has got me interested and looking for a place to hang a stand. Okay, so like I was saying earlier, this is the kind of the bottom part of that drainage that leads up to the ridge we were on. I love the ridge, lots of scrapes, lots of deer tracks. It was very exciting, but as we talked about, not putting all your eggs into that one basket necessarily. Don't just hang one stand thinking you're gonna hunt it for your entire season. You've got to move around with the deer sign. And one thing we did notice, post oaks on the ridge, there's no acorns. Got down in the drainage a little bit, we got some red oaks, got some water oaks, just a few of them, and there's acorns everywhere. There's deer tracks, we got rubs in here, so this is option 2 for me. Food sources are key. No different than me or you. You know, if somebody wanted to gather me up, it would be pretty easy at a hamburger place. So same thing with the deer. You find those acorns. You just got to go find the feed source, and you can do that by finding the scat around in the droppings. And you know, that's obviously going to be closer to their bedding. So if you find their beds, you've got their trails, you've got the tracks, you've got food sources. We found the scrapes, we found the rubs. That's all things you've got to just keep in your head, and you've got to figure out now where's my best place to intercept those critters at. Hunting and being in the outdoors is a blast, and that's what you should take from that. Don't look at, dang, I didn't harvest something as unsuccessful. If you put your time and your due diligence in, you will be successful. That don't necessarily mean you're going to come out and harvest an animal every time, but coming out and learning something new and always learning every trip to the field, that's what success is.
Outdoor Oklahoma is produced by the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation and is proud to serve and be funded entirely by sportsmen and women and outdoor enthusiasts who love and appreciate all things wild in the great state of Oklahoma.